I want to clarify something earlier. Ron complimented me on my pants. Okay? Ladies, I want you to understand, I didn't get these off the runway at Fashion Week.
Really?
You know what they are?
Chainsaw pants.
That's exactly, but you know how they work?
No.
Keep your legs.
Inside this exterior fabric is Kevlar. So, if I make a mistake, this off and go into here, it's going to jam this blade. It's going to jam the chain. It will not cut into here, this level of chainsaw with this degree of aggression that you have in this particular chain. How many of you have run chainsaws before? Excellent. All right. One of my good friends started running a chainsaw at 14. Her father is a safety instructor for Husqvarna. Husqvarna is headquartered here in Charlotte, in Finland, but they have their U.S. distribution. Her handle on the website is Chainsaw Meg. That is not just some affectation. The girl really knows what she's doing, and she knows how to climb and use these in the tree. Now, you see I'm holding this? Look at my shirt. Two hands are better than one. Never, ever run this with one hand. Even this saw, as small as it is, can get out of control. Two hands. Never here, here. Keep yourself positioned where the chain is away from you. All chainsaws are designed to be run right-handed. Lefties have a real problem with it. I have run them left-handed when I was in a bind and could not get into a specific spot, but they're all designed to be run right-handed. You know how to adjust the chain. Okay, we're going to go into that. This is referred to, as get it, I have it here. This is referred to as a scrinch. Screwdriver wrench together. What you do is you loosen this, and then there is a fitting. Depending upon the manufacturer, there is a device in here that as you turn it in, it moves a pivot back and forth to adjust the tension on this chain. What you want, this was set up properly. Notice that little bit of flex? That's as much as you need. Now, this is what happens if you don't do it right. Pass this bar around to you. This is off the rental fleet at Home Depot. The chain has been run too tight in this. Take your finger, run it right there. Here. Feel that edge?
Yeah.
Feel that edge?
Oh, yeah.
Feel that edge?
Mm-hmm.
If you'll pass it. Not too bad. It's clean, relatively clean. Now, this is a tool made by the German company Ferd, P-F-E-R-D. You pull this down the bar, it knocks off that edge. Now, you'll have different sizes of chain. Virtually all that chain right there is .050. And that's the hole, the gap in there that the chain runs in. You'll have 063, 058, 404s, different sizes depending upon the horsepower of the saw. More bigger saw, more bigger chain. Okay? Kind of like my composting. More finer, the shredder, the better. Remember that? Okay? Now, these obviously are not a fashion statement. Neither is this. I've got to adjust this. This is what I'm using when I'm on the ground. Have a different helmet when I'm in a tree. Ear protection, a mesh. Typically I'm wearing safety glasses as well. But this way, if there's any debris, if there are any wood chips, it's not going to get into my eye. I am protected here. On the chain itself, this is the biggest problem that most people make in sharpening the chain. You have a raker where my index finger is. Okay? You all see that? Where the chain cuts is the difference between the height of the raker and the cutting head. This is the cutting head right here. Most people, when they're sharpening, unless they've been taught, they will file only this. So they are reducing that gap. And the cutting head may be sharp, but because that raker keeps it off of the cutting surface, it doesn't work as well. So you file them both simultaneously. And the only tool that will do that is this one. You will see this one came from Northern Tools. This has two files in it. As you pull it across at the correct angle, it will file the raker and it will file the cutting edge at the same time. These come in different gauges depending upon the saw chain gauge that you have on the saw. Match them up. They don't work interchangeably. A .050 3/8 is what this is. That's the most that you will see from any of the areas that you typically are going to get these saws. Home Depot, Lowe's, Northern Tool, that's another good example. This one came from Northern Tool. You can find these mail order, Amazon, but this is the key. These two pieces right here, you can take into the field with you and use to keep that saw trimmed, tuned, sharpened. I did a sharpening class for the Master Gardeners at Freedom Park, to where I showed how you sharpen the tools that were there on site, right? What was the key thing? What was the key takeaway from that? Do you recall? Yeah, don't touch my saw, right?
Yeah, that's your saw, because you'll cut your finger off.
Exactly. A dull tool is the equivalent of a boat anchor. No value. Nothing dull. Keep it sharp and be careful. Again, protection. Now, I talked to some firemen a couple of weeks ago about the cost of a trip to the ER. Chaps cost under $100, okay? This helmet, a little over 60, okay? An ER trip, $1,500. That's ambulance transport from the site to the emergency room. Now, I would prefer to have these chaps, because if I don't have them, I'm going to be injured, and my recovery time is going to be dramatically longer after my trip to the ER, okay? Now, I'm dwelling on this, we're working from the most dangerous to the least dangerous. That doesn't mean there's not danger in any of these tools, because they are steel versus flesh, okay? I want to scare you all.
Can I ask a question about the chainsaw?
Sure.
So we have one, and it's a battery operated, but the chain is constantly getting loose.
That is in the adjustment right here.
Right, so how often when you're using a chainsaw?
Constantly.
So you just constantly have to
They're always
tighten.
looking. Because this is mechanical to mechanical, vibration, and it's going to get loose.
So like 3 slices and then tighten?
I'm always touching. When I'm in the field actually doing this, I'm always touching to see my adjustment.
Okay.
Because it's quick to fix. You
Yeah.
carry that screed with you constantly.
Okay.
Your screech, okay? Now, yes ma'am.
Well, this didn't happen to me, it happened to somebody that I knew. He was an airline pilot, but after a hurricane, he was up in a tree,
I've heard stories like this
you know,
countless
doing
times.
this, and
Yes.
it comes and hits his head.
Oh.
And he happened to have, his hair like yours,
Mhm.
okay?
Right.
Yeah, and he's an airline pilot,
Yeah.
so, yeah, just like.
Well, he may be very skilled running a 747.
Yeah.
He may not be very skilled running something like
And I
this.
think that's an issue, is be really careful about what what projects you take on, if you're not skilled.
And that's why we're having this class. I can't expect you to know this information. The general public does not know this information. So when you go out, the questions that you're going to get will be on this line from people that know even less than you do. So you now are coming at it from a full safety side. And, of course, if you have another question, you can ask me, of course. But these are the things. Now, you're starting to see more battery-powered equipment. California has tried, as they've tried to do a lot of things on the front lines, ban gasoline-powered backpack blowers, battery-powered string trimmers, battery-powered God knows what, or gas-powered God knows what. And for the noise level, even though all these manufacturers have improved their CO2 and noxious gases emissions, they are still not in compliance to the level of the automobile industry. So you're seeing a lot more battery powered, and the beauty of this one is this will clip to your harness so you can climb with this thing. And you don't have to worry about cranking it in the tree because it's ready to go just as it is. And then it's got a brake on here that will not let it engage, and it's also a self-trip, so that if it jams, I'm not using the term kickback because that's a whole nother discussion, but if you have the wood here and you're laying here, you have very little issue with kickback. The kickback is coming when you're trying to do a plunge cut, which is necessary sometimes, but you've got to know how to do it, and that's a little more advanced than we need to get into in this class, unless you want me to. Now, as I said, we're going to work down in levels of danger. Do you know the difference between a western saw and an eastern saw?
No.
The teeth.
An eastern saw or western saw, usually European design, English design, cuts on the push stroke. Oriental saws cut on the pull stroke. Is the term kerf familiar to you?
No.
Kerf is the width of the saw teeth set. A bigger kerf cuts a bigger path. K-E-R-F. Kerf. And you set the saw, if you're in a saw shop, you sharpen everything, and then you do a controlled bend of offsetting teeth. That's on the western saw. The eastern saws, these are laser cut. Very difficult to sharpen. So you cut on the pull stroke. And the beauty of it is this metal is typically thinner than what you see in a western saw. A regular carpenter saw, a western saw is much thicker steel. Here you get a much more precise cut. Have you ever seen Japanese woodworking techniques? Very fine, beautiful work. It's only accomplished on cutting the backstroke, pull stroke. There you do this intricate joinery. English carpentry is similar, but nowhere near as precise. Usually you see it in timber frame housing construction. That's one. Now, same style, same technique, easy to carry with you all the time. Cuts on the pull stroke. Now when I'm pruning, I have, they are here. I carry these three. This gets me 90% of what I need to do. Smaller stuff, this is a number 2 Felco. This is a number 13 Felco. This will cut up to 1 1/4 inches. This will cut up to 3/4. This is another Felco tool, cuts on the pull stroke.
What do you call that? What's that number?
Which one?
The
This
saw.
is a 500, look it up.
Or what's the name of the tool?
It's just a handheld folding saw.
Folding saw.
Yep.
So do you have a western folding saw?
I'm sorry.
So can we see the western too, as an eastern again?
No, everything here. You don't typically do a western saw in pruning.
Okay, so that you just showed us was an eastern.
Yes.
It's the pole.
And so is this.
So is that.
Everything I have.
So
Just
if
remember,
I have something, I should not be back and forth with it, I should be pulling. instead.
ideally, you can, the push stroke is just to get it back into position for the next pull stroke.
Okay.
It's not doing anything. It's just gliding,
Right.
bouncing. The cut is on the pull stroke.
Okay.
What's the advantage of the pull cut versus the push cut?
Is there an advantage?
Yes, I'm gonna get to that.
Oh.
The other thing is when you make your pulls, when you push, aren't you getting rid of some of the debris that you?
Depending upon the sharpness of the saw and the rosin content of the wood, to answer your question, yes, but it's a matter of degrees. Now, your question was,
Advantage of the
Push-pull.
push.
look at my feet. Look at my legs, look at my body position.
Yeah.
I have more control.
Yeah.
If I am off balance, if I'm in the tree, I want to pull, I don't want to push. Because I have less control if I'm pushing than if I'm pulling. Because you don't know what the inner structure of the tree is, it can break off on you. Here, you have better control. Now, you're not gonna get the tree, right?
No. I have the Walt one, and then we have a really big, but I don't like having to crank it, so that's my go-to.
It can catastrophically fail once you get to a certain point. You have more control here. Now, you can also run this one-handed and keep this hand out of the way. I'm gonna tell you a complete horror story, okay? True story happened to a professional arborist.
Chair down, please.
What's that?
I'm asking if you keep the chair down so we can hear what you're saying.
Oh, they can hear me.
Okay.
Now, a friend of mine, certified arborist from New Zealand. Different training, but excellent training. He's in the tree. He's using a Silky. This is the brand, Silky. He's got one of these monsters right here. Cutting. Thick bush. His hand is here. Comes in the tree. 60 feet, 40 feet in the tree. Arterial bleeding or damn near arterial bleeding. So, he had, fortunately, we all carry a tourniquet with us. Always. I don't have harness on. You always carry it with you. Again, that too is not a fashion statement. So, yes ma'am.
How often do you sharpen your smaller tools? The pruners, how often do you sharpen your smaller hand tools?
Well, I'm gonna answer that question with a little more explanation. These are the ones I use the most. And this is what I taught in class. I'm running my finger over this. Notice I'm not going this way, I'm touching it. I'm feeling the fiber of the steel, how it's standing up. If it feels dull, I'm gonna hit it with a sharp.
Okay.
So it depends on what you're cutting. If you make a mistake and hit metal, it's gonna dull it. So I'm constantly dressing is the term.
How do you sharpen those? I'm sorry.
You missed my class.
I missed that,
Yeah, let me see if I brought one with me.
It's a very impressive process.
What we do, it's a very small, you can actually get these at Home Depot. Fiskars makes, F-I-S-K-A-R-S, Fiskars makes a very small, very thin, diamond impregnated steel honer. And what you do is open it and follow the contour of the blade, unless it's dinged up. If it's dinged up, you can work it more and potentially save it, but why do you have this model, Bill?
Because every single part is replaceable because
Bingo.
it's Velcro. I was in class.
You remember. Why does Bill have this?
Atta
Because
girl.
Bill's great-great-grandchildren
Oh, I have
can
that.
still be using this. Now, granted, unless you go to Black Hawk Hardware, where they will perform what I refer to as a walletectomy on you. This tool is $56 anywhere else on the planet. It's $104 at Black Hawk.
Oh my God.
So you don't have to go to Weight Watchers. You will be lighter when you leave than when you came in. Okay?
Is
Now,
that the number,
Philco?
what number is that one?
Philco.
Number 2, that's your favorite,
well,
one of
Six?
them.
Oh.
Who's your favorite,
It's like
Phil?
picking your
It
So why
favorite
is she
child.
saying
The
Philco?
hand tool.
if I'm going through inch and a quarter branches, I use my number 13. Because A, the handle is bigger, more leverage, less force required to cut through something like that. Now, if I get to where these won't handle it, and this comes out.
Okay.
Now, how much of you, did they cover the 3-step cutting method
In the book.
in the book? I'm gonna do it a little different. I'm gonna do it in real life for you. Hold up your fingers. Okay. This is your center leader. This is the branch that you're going to remove. And do Mr. Spock. You can get it done. Now, what you'll do, you'll make the first cut here. That's the undercut. Why are we doing the undercut? Because when I cut through the top, and if I don't make that undercut, the weight of that branch is going to come down and tear more of the surface tissue, more of the bark out that will take way longer to heal and open that plant up to disease. So what I'm doing is I'm making a cut right here. Now, that's not the finished cut. I'm making a cut here, then I do the top cut, and that will drop it. And then I come back with that tiny stub, then I can come back right here and cut on the outboard side of the branch collar down into the branch ridge, and that will heal in that scab type method that you see on properly pruned trees. Yes, ma'am?
Are you cutting a wedge on the underside?
No,
or just-
I'm not doing that because if I'm trying to do a controlled drop, which is a little more advanced, I would cut a wedge, but my wedge would not be as if I'm felling the tree. It would be a diagonal to guide it that way or guide it this way. That's the only time I would be using a wedge. Sometimes I will do a banana cut where I'll cut, and lay it down little by little by little. These are all more advanced techniques that you will probably ever need to explain to you. But that's part of how you do it. There are other tricks where you do a cut here, cut here, cut here, cut here, cut here, and then you lift it out of the crane. I don't think you're gonna get that close.
Bill, I have one more question on the cuts.
That's fine.
Okay, so if I have the undercut, and let's say it's like an inch or 2 out from,
It will be more like 4 inches out.
more like 4 inches out.
Yeah.
Then is the top cut closer to?
Farther out. You want that undercut to be closer to the tree trunk. You cut the felling cut farther out because you want that whole thing to fall off. Now you can do it with multiple wedge cuts like that to where you basically make it fold down like a banana. But again, you probably won't get those questions, okay? That's just for your information, okay? Any questions, comments so far? How am I doing for time? Now. Quality Tools, Japanese. Every piece of that's replaceable. There's not many pieces to it. Now, a number, I don't remember the name of this, a number 100 Felco. This is more for floral work, because what this will do, I'll pass it around so you can see it. As you cut something, it will grasp it. So if you're trying to prune roses and you want that one particular rose, this not only cuts it, but it holds it so you can remove it.
What number is that?
This is a number 100. I'll pass this around.
That's a Felco as well?
All Felco, trust me, they're all Felco. I'll differentiate when they're not there. These are Mizunas right there.
So Bill, the number 2 and the number 13, those are kind of for woody plants?
Well, the number 2 you use for root everything.
Okay.
Now, I want to slightly digress just a bit. You have been taught that you can pinch. Well, Bill does not pinch. Bill cuts.
But do you have a fingernail?
I'm like, I use scissors.
Bingo. Why am I cutting and not picking? Because I don't know exactly where I've had my hands. You know, relatively clean, okay, but not sterile. This I can make sterile. So, look at the size of these little babies. Snip, snip. I'm not doing bonsai. I am harvesting vegetables. I do not want to transport or transfer any bacteria into anything else that I'm cutting. So here, yes ma'am.
Speaking of bacteria transfer, this is where I get stuck. Are we supposed to like sanitize between clippings on one plant or between plants?
I typically, depends on what I'm dealing with. Again, back to my depends answer. If I have an issue of disease and multiple plants to prune, I'm sterilizing every time.
What do you sterilize
Every
with?
cut. And then when I'm done, I'll come back with an oil. Now, these are stainless, so I don't have to worry much about that. But in the sharpening class, you recall I said the smoother you can get the surface area, the less porosity that you have where bacteria can get attached and create a colony in the porosity of the metal.
What's the name of those?
These Japanese
These are
things,
grams.
these,
Fram, Bill, F-R.
Yes, ma'am.
Sterilizing solution be?
I use 70% isopropyl alcohol for this reason. 90% isopropyl alcohol evaporates faster. Ma'am?
Evaporates too.
Bingo. That's it.
Bring like that bottle with you and then you put it on something and you.
I have no idea.
Well, you should ask. I'm going to help you with that one. This is a new tool.
Velcro.
Gee, go figure. This one, you pressurize this just like you pressurize a sprayer. So that every time you clip, it activates that pump and shoots a bacteriological solution all into the blade.
Wow.
Well,
that just makes And you attack it.
Raise it on. Now, ladies, hold on to your wallet. This ain't cheap.
Weight Watchers.
I didn't get this in Black Hawk hardware.
You could probably get number 2 and number 13 for the price of one number 2. If you buy them elsewhere.
Yeah, I done the number 2, the
13 might be a
the
little bit more
13,
'cause it's bigger.
the best price I found with that, I'm gonna get to this in just a minute, because, we will make absolutely no money on this. What I will do is advise where I get this stuff. Would you all like that?
Yes.
Okay. Let me digress slightly. They have done this for us
Well, and
before.
let me just give a disclaimer, and you can remind them. When we're making recommendations to the public, we cannot recommend specific brand names.
Well, I'm not talking to the public, you're
I
right.
know. I know, so for us, it's okay, but if you are at a booth talking to the public, you cannot.
Yeah, I can't say this is a piece of junk, don't buy this.
Yes.
Which I don't typically do.
Give a variety of options.
Yeah, always give them a list.
Always do.
List of options,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't say a specific one, but if your favorites are on that list with other ones, then.
They can always look at my clothing and see what they're carrying. That usually tells me. Now, they're all manner of trowels. This is a company called Wilcox. We, as a Master Gardener group, have ordered these from Wilcox before because they give us a discount. These things, you buy them once. If you don't lose them, they're forever. They're all stainless steel. This is basically a replaceable bicycle handle. They're made in the Midwest somewhere. Now, I'm able to finish the weeding, but this can be referred to as an asparagus knife. Because how do you harvest asparagus? This is also an excellent weeder. So what you can do is go down in there for any of the weeds that have a bulbous root. If they're spreading rhizomal, you gotta do something different. I'm gonna get to that right now. If I'm weeding,
My kids gave me that as a Mother's Day gift. I had no idea what I was gonna do with it.
if I'm weeding and I either don't want to use herbicides, don't have it, or it's unnecessary, this we set into a rhizomal type propagator, twist, and it will act like a backlashing fishing rod, fishing rod. It will wind the weed up. Take it out, throw it away. This is for close in work. Now this weed twister, yard twister, goes by a number of different marketing names, a lot of different manufacturers.
Hey, Bill, could you use that to turn a compost pot?
Now, I make something for compost, deeper spines. Yes, you can, but you can also use this to turn a compost bin. Now these,
How do you put them back
these are
together?
typically referred to as pitchforks.
If a nice hammer falls like that, do not try to catch it, let it fall.
Do not do that.
Tool safety
Not-
class.
Notice I didn't
Right
move it,
into
right?
that.
Now see this one latches. It's got a screw mechanism to keep this from folding up on it. Now, I can close it. Get that back into its slot. And latch it back. So now it's ready for transfer. Now, these technically, usually you see them referred to as pitchforks. Notice the difference in times. Okay? That's for large, bulky material. When you're moving compost, this is referred to as a silage fork. Silage is that's corn stalks. That's what you feed livestock. It's a lot easier to move this and a whole lot easier to move the type of mulch that we get. Because it comes out of a chipper at different thicknesses. This allows you to move a mat of mulch easier than if you tried, and I've seen some of you do this at Freedom, to try and use transfer shovel. Technically, this is referred to as a transfer shovel. It's made to move material around. It's not made to dig. This round point comes in different sizes, different handle styles. This is what we use to plant with. The trick that I taught some of the people at Tree Charlotte, rather than take another stick into the field with you, turn this over. Can you all see what I'm doing? Imagine there is a hole for a tree. I will set this where I've dug here, where I've dug there, and then set the tree in here so that the root collar is in the proper position. If you turn it this way, you'll get it wrong. This way, you can have it and use this as a straight edge. One tool in the garden, and you're able to plant. Yes, ma'am?
I just want to mention that between 5 and 2, those tools are too long for me, and I did buy some that are that have a shorter, handle. And they do have those types of tools.
They do. They're harder to find, and you'll have to go more to a hardware store. The big box stores have a more unified, uniform,
Last year.
and a lot of stuff you just can't get. Now,
Bill,
yes,
while you're on the forks, what about a spade fork? The flatter, thicker,
Potato fork?
oh, potato fork, that's it, yes. I didn't bring one, but that is specifically for the harvesting of potatoes. You put it down, you uproot the clump of potatoes. That's what it's done. There are actually mechanical tractor-mounted devices that do the same thing, but that's beyond the scope of this.
Okay.
It's referred-
I used that fork for digging some of like daylilies and stuff.
Exactly, because you've got a tuberous root that behaves very similar to the way a potato does. Okay? Now, there is a picture, it's a painting by Millet, French artist in the mid-1800s. The painting is of a French peasant leaning on his hoe like this. Now, I've been teaching juvenile delinquents for quite some time. When I ask them to bring me a hoe, I have to clarify my terminology, okay? This is a grubbing hoe. It's a very useful tool that has been around since before Christ, I think. It started out as a piece of stone with a hole cut in it. God knows how long that took. And a wooden handle. But this is still a very useful tool. This is the modern version. It's much lighter, but I've seen them with much heavier steel. And a lot of times they can be made out of an old plowshare. You know, you heat the plow up, flatten it out, poke your hole in it. All this is forge work that you see a blacksmith doing.
And what do you use that for?
Ma'am? I'm using this to keep order in the classroom. No, this is actually to break up soil, and we're going to get to that next. This is soil that's all pretty much already been tilled. The heavier steel blades will cut more, but I have better tools for that. Some years ago, young students from Duke University came down and did a community service project. And I had this tiny little girl. If she weighed 100 pounds, I'd be surprised. And she was trying to step a shovel into compacted red clay. Now, I have dealt with red clay since childhood. This is how you deal with red clay. Wham, wham, wham. You have now broken it up, and then I come back in and use something to twist it with, be it a shovel. But what I've done is I've got it now to where it's manageable. Once it's manageable, that's when I start already adding the organic matter back to it. And then I have manually corrected the loss of organic matter to where I now have a viable seed bed. That's how you deal with red clay. And believe me, you will get those questions.
What is that called?
That's a mattock.
Mattock.
Yep. Now, another tool that will do something similar. Ever seen this?
Mm-hmm.
This, what is it? Let's try that again. What is it?
An axe.
Looks like an axe.
That is a Pulaski.
Mm.
Named for a former Forest Service agent who designed this. This is one-stop shopping if you're in a forest crew fighting a fire. You have the ability to dig out the roots and chop the roots with this Pulaski. Okay? I usually get people with that. You see these, but it has a formal name. Okay? Now this is a lighter mattock pick that will do something similar that the grubbing hoe will do. It will break it up, but this is what you need here. The sharp point, as a protective cover on it right now, the sharp point will get in and break up red clay, and you come back with that, flip it, then take the shovel, add organic matter to it, then you can create your own seed bed with that.
Here we are.
Is that for the juvenile delinquents?
That's exactly a medieval torture device.
I have been tempted. Is this a gardening tool?
Looks like a torch.
Yes.
It has to be. If it's in
Yes,
this class.
it is a gardening tool because I can do that, hook it around what I want to get rid of.
Pull it out.
If I have a mule, I can hook this to the mule and giddy up. Now, when I say that, my grandfather actually had a mule that we plowed with. So these are tools that can be used to remove vegetation. Dig it a little bit, pull it, chain, carve, and saw me, and Sheffield saw me use this at Armory when we had to get rid of a bunch of bushes that were there that we didn't want again. Wrap it around, boom, out.
Where do you
Wrap it around,
find
boom,
that
out.
one?
Man,
Where do you find that one?
Northern Tool.
Thanks.
I can't- Look for the color. It's
Yeah.
just, they have it in stock.
Would you also use that to smooth the?
Have a poly.
No, you actually, there you have a tractor
cut,
mount.
the system,
It
so
has a
huge.
chain. It's a level, it's a different, multiple chains to do, like golf course levels.
Right.
If you get ready to prep a green before you see it, you drag it like that.
I'm thinking like a arrow, but yeah.
It's it's called chain arrow.
Right.
That's what it is, yeah.
But it's not as heavy as that.
Yeah, it's actually heavier.
Heavier.
Now, back to pruning. Let's say I've got a lot of pruning to do.
Electric
That's for bad children.
I actually have a story to tell you about that. This is a real story from another master gardener that you know, but she asked me not to mention her name. She was pruning with, I think, we'll just use these as the color. Her 4-year-old grandson was fooling around, not paying attention. She's pruning. She was paying attention to the task at hand. Junior sticks his finger in the bush. That's a trip to the ER. So, everything I've shown you is not a toy. Have I gotten that point across? Now, new tool. This one you actually can run one-handed.
You were
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I thought it was clean. Yeah. Anyway, this is, we'll make it simpler, but remember, where is your left hand?
Yeah.
Away, because this too shows no mercy. Now, have any of you ever seen the movie Sling Blade?
Yeah.
Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob Thornton, I don't think he's ever spent much time in the field, okay? He referred to the tool that he was using as a murder weapon as a bush axe. That was not a bush axe, all right? Now, they referred to it as a sling blade. He used this as an example of a sling blade. This is a bush axe. Now, you're not going to see this in much established gardening. You're going to see this out in the wild. Those edges are sharp. Cut to get into an overgrown vegetative situation when you don't know what's in there. Let's say in this area you happen to have found a group of copperheads. The score is Bill 57, copperheads 0. Some of my students at the jail have seen me dispatch copperheads with a shovel. They give me a wide berth after that. Okay, now. Who has string trimmers in the shop here? Everybody does. You have one that looks like that? Again, imagine there's still more onto it. This is just, all right, this is a bump head. The cutting tape or twine is in here. And as you bump it down, centrifugal force advances it. Notice how new this thing is? There's an explanation for that. You know what that is?
You don't use it.
I don't use it, bingo. Right? Because they're such a pain to reload. I use.
Yep. That's what I use.
These heads you can find, I'm not gonna touch the table. You can find this, Lowe's, Home Depot, they all carry this, and you can change your existing head, cutting head out to this, and every piece here is replaceable. This is for heavy vegetation.
Do the little plastic
plastic things fall off?
No, because they have a locking mechanism in here. You're more likely to inherit over time. But you will know, because I didn't bring a lawnmower blade in here to show, but typically, when you sharpen a lawnmower blade, you've got to take an equal amount out of each cutting edge, because it relies on centrifugal force. So if you take too much out of one side, it's going to throw it out of balance. These are basic concepts, but they're not basic if they haven't been explained. But if I lost one of these, boo, I can feel it. Okay. So now this is the new Echo 56 volt. Stay away from the Echo 58 volts. They have changed them all out. Echo had significant problems with it, and Echo replaced every single piece of my 58 volt with these, brand new. And they've done that to other people because they have had such systemic problems with the 58 volt system. Okay? Just remember that.
2100, what is the?
This one is DPAS 2100. And this is a 56 volt battery. And this is the same battery that's in the chainsaw, and the same battery that's in all of the new Echo equipment. Okay? Now, weed control.
Flamethrower.
Fire is good. Agricultural techniques of fire have been used since the Sumerians, before Christ. Native Americans burned crops, burned fields, not crops, or fields, so that they would come back and regenerate as they migrated from one place to another because they were migratory groups. This is a controlled torch that will allow you to get very close in to a weed with the tank mounted right here. It's also got an igniter right here, although I typically do that. And it's much easier to handle, typically carry both at the same time. But here you have controlled burn. Am I scaring you?
She didn't know she was gonna be the lovely assistant. I'm the one screaming. Vanna White over here.
My purpose is not to entertain. Got it. So, now, they make a few others in the Wilcox. These are the ones I typically use. I don't have the whole line, but if you have any interest in them, they will give us a discount, significant discount, but it will take everybody ordering one check to them and ship to us here. I think they give us like a 20% discount. We as the master partner. If you have interest. This is a compound leverage clipper. A couple different manufacturers of this. I get these from a company in outside of Atlanta that I met at Southern Spring Show many years ago. It has a soft edge right here, even though this is a non-bypass. It acts like a bypass because of the soft insert that's in here. Can you see it? You can pass it around.
What does the bypass mean?
Oh.
When they go like this?
So what's the benefit of that, Bill?
Benefit of what?
The soft.
It behaves like a bypass printer,
Okay.
but that has a ratcheting mechanism that will change the fulcrum and give you more pressure without having to make a second cut.
Gotcha.
Now, this is pretty self bypass. It bypasses the two blades. They don't cut together. They don't meet. I have that. Correct. It's like look at the curvature of the blade. It's like a guillotine.
Because the other one that, we have the old one where it's like.
Anvil style. That's called. If you're dealing with good tissue, it doesn't matter. If you're just dealing with cracks, fine. I have the number 8 because it's the same clipper type that is in that automated disinfectant.
Oh, okay.
All they've done is drill a hole in there, so all the equipment is now. Again, every one of these Velcros, every piece is replaceable. Great grandchildren can still be using this. Now, here in the States, these are referred to as clippers.
Mm-hmm.
If you go across the pond, these are secateurs. What?
Yes.
Secateurs. If you're in England and you ask for a clipper, you get kind of a blank look. If you ask for a secateur, they will hand you something like this, or something like this. There's actually a museum in the Midlands in England where they have old secateurs. It's just someone's estate, and I guess they have all the inventory that the gardeners quit using. But it's there. There's also a barbed wire museum. Okay, we covered all that. Now,
When you start your podcast, Bill, Tool Terror.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need a podcast called Tool Terror with Bill Sloan.
or a blog.
Tool man.
Sponsored by Personal Injury Attorney.
It can get worse. Now, this is a modern version of the Japanese ori-ori tool. It's a digging tool. This one is a serrated. This is made in Italy. And this comes from Gimpers. It's pink for a reason. No, because every buck out of the price is paid into the Susan G. Komen breast cancer.
And what brand is that?
I get this from A.M. Leonard.
That's horrible.
And these are the vendors, this is their manufacturer, marketed by them, catalog only. That comes in orange or pink.
Inox, I-N-O-X, I think is the brand of those.
Well, inox, it means it's stainless steel.
There we go, okay,
Yeah.
I see that.
Acero inoxidable, that means stainless steel in Spanish. But this inox is stainless. Don't confuse that with the brand. All of these are inoxidable. Now, A.M. Leonard, depending on what I'm harvesting, if I'm coming out to cut cauliflower, one pass in the field. If I'm cutting a lighter vegetable, one pass. I'm able to harvest very quickly with tools like this. All stainless, required. Yes, ma'am.
So if we're just gonna get one, which one would you get?
Good question.
What is that called again? Is it
Hori.
Hori.
knife.
Hori, H-O-R-I, H-O-R-I.
Knife.
Yes.
Yes.
These are knives as well. This came from Johnny Seeds. This came from A.M. Leonard.
And what are the names of those?
This is just a harvest knife.
Harvest knife.
Yeah.
That Hori has some measurements on the side too, and I use that when I do my planting of my bulbs.
These are Barnells.
Mm-hmm.
That's another brand name. Got a serrated edge, one pull. You can cut under grass if you want to transplant the grass. Also, I use this for harvest. I clean it before I harvest, if I'm eating for vegetables. This is more for weeds. Again, a sharp edge here, cuts as you pull it through.
What's that called?
This is number 727 Barnell.
Okay.
I'm not joking. That again, a harvest knife.
Okay.
If you do a Google search for Barnell, there's a company DTE in Oregon, and they have all these tools on their website, and they will give us a discount as well. But we'll have to order in volume. If there's anything that you collectively want, however we administer it, again, that's not my function here. We can go to them and get that. You can order individually, but there's typically shipping with it. We get to a certain dollar amount, free shipping.
Yeah.
Now, once I've got it harvested and washed, you will see this same knife at the vegetable guys at Harris Teeter. Because they're carrying this, because they will prep a little bit before they put it out on display. This is a Russell, Dexter Russell. Dexter Russell makes kitchen equipment, commercial kitchen equipment. You know, lower price point than a Henkel's or Courvoisier. You know, not Courvoisier. Wusthof, Henkel's, Wusthof, Sabatier. Sabatier is the French knife maker. This is one, Dexter Russell is here in the States.
And what is it for?
This is for vegetables. This is the prep before you get it out of the field into the kitchen.
The Barnell, that was number 727, was there another?
7727, and here,
77.
this is another Barnell's right here. Every piece of this is replaceable. Bypass lopper, big lopper.
I call mine Cindy.
I'm sorry.
I call mine Cindy.
Cindy Lauper. Boy, that's really good.
I call this Pinky. Now, this is another one. You'll see this a couple of manufacturers. This came from Ironwood in Georgia. This is expandable and it ratchets. So each of these points here, as you pump this red handle, it gets another fulcrum so that you increase your leverage and your ability to cut. And then that's the folder for, that's transport.
And who was that by?
Sorry?
Who was that by?
This is Ironwood. Now, if you have limited space, interchange stirrup, a variant of a stirrup hoe. Cut, 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 usually for rhizomally propagated plants. Okay. Now, that's one head.
Now, what tool is that?
This is a Wolfgarten. WOLFGARTEN. Used to be sold, this actually was Lowe's years ago. It's now this color, mail order only. And Amazon.
If you're using that for rhizomes, are you not like chopping them up like you would a starfish?
Say again?
Well, you're making a bunch of little pieces.
Chopping up a starfish.
So if you're using that to get rhizomes out.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's gonna
Pushing.
like
Aren't you
Push and
making
pull.
lots of little pieces?
Well, what you're gonna do is get it out of there.
Okay.
So, now, this is if you have limited space. One of these and multiple heads. Different levels of cultivation. Not everybody has an empty garage. I certainly know. There, a flexible stirrup hoe that easily stored. They make these with expandable telescoping handles so you can go even further out. If you're doing a 10-foot raised bed, you can get the extended handle, stay in one spot until the whole bed.
Phil, do they only make that for like the hose, the different kinds, or do they can you get a rake head for that?
You get a rake head, you get a broom, push broom,
Oh,
you can get an apple pick, a fruit picker.
Okay.
You know, this is what I could grab and fit because the truck is
Gotcha.
full.
Oh, no. I was just curious, because that would be good for very little.
And that's all Wolfgarten.
Wolfgarten.
Right.
Yep. Every bit of that. Mine, some of my older ones, have the stamping made in West Germany, so that tells you they're not new. Okay. Now, some time ago, Barry was asking me for a particular tool. He said, "Do you have a machete?" And my first question was, "What size, Barry?" I don't worry too much about snakes with this. When you're going in, and again, you may not encounter this. If you're going into an overgrown area, a couple of whacks for this, you clear the path. And they come in different sizes. I found this on a job site in Georgia. some godforsaken town in Georgia, I don't know where it was, actually, we were building buildings down there. But this was buried in, you know, in red clay.
Probably a murder weapon.
So it took me a while to get red clay.
You're right.
We still have some vestige.
Was there a body nearby?
Ma'am?
Was there a body nearby?
I didn't see one. They may have carted him or her off some time before that. This was all that was remained. Okay. These are made in Colombia, not South Carolina. These are actually military issue to the Colombian Army. Okay. Gavilan is the brand name. Still, you can get them here in the States, but Ontario Knife Company makes a comparable machete like this if you want one. There are a couple of them that are out of business, but Ontario Knife makes the equivalent of the K-bar knife, the old Marine Corps World War II issue knife. They also make the new current bayonets for the United States Army.
You know, Bill, I don't see, one of my favorite tools that we have in our garage is, it rolls and it aerates at the same time. You know what I'm talking about?
I have that, but I use it for concrete.
I don't know what it's called, but like if we need to reseed a little area, you just kind of roll it and it kind of pokes holes in it.
Is it a mesh?
No,
On
it's
the
like
drum?
spikes.
Core aerator.
Yeah, it's an
Core
aerator.
aerator.
Okay.
That's what
And
that's
I
called.
use that down my, in between my plants too.
It works.
Yeah.
There's a core aerator and a plug aerator.
Okay.
A plug aerator, the weight of the tool itself pokes
Right.
a tube down, because it's on a drum,
Mm-hmm.
it pokes a tube and then it expels that plug. You put the fertilizer in that, and as the moisture, either rain or irrigation, or the natural moisture in the soil, as it dissolves that fertilizer, it puts it at the root level.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring one of those in.
Well, no, but the one I have is small, kind of like one of your homes or.
Yeah, well, there's actually a yard weasel that does something similar.
yeah.
That you run, it's a yard twister, a yard weasel.
Yeah.
The weasel has offsetting
Tines.
spikes,
Yeah.
stars, that as you run it through. And I've actually found one that was broken, so I cut half of it off, so it's even more compact, that will allow me to get in and do more precise.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I love
Use it
that.
all the time.
Yeah.
Now,
I know, listen.
The question was asked to me. We're gonna get into irrigation here. What do I use, okay? This is manufactured by DRAM, D-R-A-M-M, the same company that made those small clippers. This is my control of the water. I can also add different tubes to this to put the water exactly where I want it, okay?
What is that called?
Ma'am?
Graham.
What is it called? The tool?
This is just a watering wand.
Just a, okay.
They come in all different sizes and, this is a DRAM diffuser.
Yeah.
This will put the water right here. And, remember, I don't water leaves. God can take care of that. I want the water at the roots. Now you'll see my favorite internet garden swamis that will say that foliar fertilization is a miracle cure. There is no scientific basis for that. Why do I call them garden swamis? Because they are trying to divine a way to make plants grow. Remember, plants take up their nutrients from the soil. There's a little bit of research, very little, on foliar sprays, but nowhere near what they would purport to be the efficacy on the internet. So, was there a question back there? No? Okay. Now, inexpensive. $5, something like that. Nelson makes this. Orbitz makes this. The reason I have this is because this already has molded in the garden hose fitting. So I can put whatever I want on here. Easy to control, inexpensive. If I forget it and lose it, my heart is not broken, right? Here, I made this so I can make this whatever length I need, depending upon what I'm watering, for precise watering. I can put a control valve right here to get even less water, so that I can really concentrate. I can stand here for a while. Remember, water deeper, infrequently. That's what you want, and that's what the plant wants. So you put it here, and just let it. Now, I've also got drip irrigation systems. We've taught classes in drip irrigation. There, turn it on, forget it. Okay? And it will do the type of watering that you need, where deep irrigation, infrequently, and you can add components to it to do what's called fertigation. You know what that is?
Fertilize.
Fertilizer, that's exactly it. 10 minutes? I should be okay, yeah, I'm just about covered. I haven't covered the sprayers yet. That'll work just fine. What you can do is add the nutrient solution. Now, I didn't have a chance to teach you any of the hydroponic components, but one thing that you need to know is Hoagland's, Hoaglands, Hoagland's solution. Discovered by Dr. Dennis Hoagland in the 1930s at the University of California, Berkeley. Dr. William Garricky, the father of hydroponic gardening, wouldn't divulge his methodology to the provost of the University of California. So the provost tasked Hoagland with figuring out what Garricky was doing. Academic politics, okay? Hoagland's solution is the base of all aquaponic chemical mixtures to this very day. Miracle-Gro, the liquid Miracle-Gro, it's predicated off of the initial formulas of Dr. Hoagland. The essential elements, the 13 essential elements necessary for growth. So you can have that in a solution, pumped in on drip irrigation to fertilize without spraying, without adding increments into the soil. You are effectively growing in that formula or that solution that the plant can uptake. The plant has no teeth, can't chew up fertilizer. It's got to go into solution. That's one way to do it, okay? Now, who has these? You don't have to have this model.
We've got it.
It's just a regular hand pump. It could be plastic. These are stainless. I've had these forever, okay? You can control the particle size by how you adjust that nozzle. Why is that important? Well, they have this thing called wind, okay? A finer particle disperses more so that you can have the negative impact of either a pesticide overspray or an herbicide overspray. The licenses here from the North Carolina Department of Agriculture are pesticide, even though they cover herbicides. You don't have a separate and distinct herbicide license. So, when you see, and I've seen this, a particular moron that I refer to as dances with Roundup. I don't know if he was demonically possessed, or if it was alcohol induced, or some type of psychotropic drug where they didn't have his meds measured correctly. He's in there spraying in the air in a high wind condition. Needless to say, he got stopped immediately, and the equipment was taken from him. Now, can you spray in a windy condition? Within reason. But that nozzle right there would have a built-in screen on it that would allow me to more precisely place that herbicide or pesticide, so I didn't have, and you'll get this, there'll be issues to where, what's wrong with my plant?
Sure.
And again, when you get these questions, it typically takes 2 or 3 other questions for you to ever get to the real core. Just know that going in, be it Heart Helpline, be it any type of public event that we do, you will see that because they don't really know what they're asking, and you won't know how to answer the question until 2 or 3 questions from them, question and answers that they give you, okay? Herbicide overspray is a significant problem, and it can manifest itself as a biotic condition where it is an abiotic meaning non-plant indigenous, done by either human intervention or something else, typically human. Overspray is most of what you will see. One of the majors at the Sheriff's Department is trying to get in touch with me. So I finally walked by her office and I said, what do you need? She said, my plants have died. Now, that's the first question. What did you do? What happened? It seems that her husband sprayed the entire garden with Roundup. Now this is at the very beginning of the pesticide classes. Read the label.
The label is
They
a
spend
law.
a lot of money, the companies, to give you that information. They're not doing it as an academic exercise. They want you to know how to properly apply it. Quick story, Janine Davis, who runs the one of our farms, one of the NC State farms up in the mountains, had herbicide residual in compost. It was traced back to hay that was grown in Virginia by someone who did not read the label and mixed up the concentration way in excess of what was necessary. The hay was cut, and that residual passed all the way through to compost, which should have broken it down, and would have if he had, right? What did I just say? Read the label! Now, this is the newest one, the newer one. I've got the DeWalt one, which is too big to bring. This uses a small Milwaukee 12-volt battery that fits in here. But this one, I can control the pressure, I can control the spray pattern, I can also purchase another screen that fits on here that I can truly control. This holds 1.5 gallons. This is for, spot treatments. What I use out here on the basketball court was my backpack sprayer, and 12 gallons of herbicide later, we finally got rid of the weeds out there where the greenhouse is supposed to go. And I did that 8 months ago, maybe something like that, and it has held, it has worked. Now, I mixed up Bill's witch's brew.
Which is?
Because I didn't know what all I was dealing with out there. But I had a pre-emergence, I had glyphosate, all mixed in the correct concentration, which you can do in a situation like this, because you don't know exactly what you're dealing with, and you have multiple weeds out there. Remember, a weed is a plant that the chemical structure and the benefit to human beings has not been discovered.
So Bill, you wanna know your witch's brew recipe?
Oh, I said 2,4-D and glyphosate. 2,4-D and glyphosate, pre-emergence and a regular glyphosate. That was it. Now, you all had Dr. Jeff Gilman teach.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff told me the story of, do you know what horticultural vinegar is?
Yes.
What's the concentration? 20%. 20% acetic acid. What's the concentration of household vinegar?
5%.
There you go. All right, what horticultural vinegar does is it basically burns the vegetation up. It doesn't kill the roots. Jeff's story was that he was spraying that because, again, he was doing it. He did tell you that?
Yeah.
Like the frog?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. Well, that's a story that recurs all the time. Jeff did a couple of classes. In class, okay, I'll tell you this quick story. Jeff spoke to a meeting, and he popped up this picture of an individual. He said, do you know who this is? I said, yeah, that's the father of chemical warfare. His name is Fritz Haber. He won the Nobel Prize in chemistry, physics, one or the other. In 1918, wasn't awarded until 1919. He was the inventor or the creator and discoverer of the process where through electricity and pressure, you were able to separate nitrogen from air, and that was the explosion of nitrogen fertilizer. Nitrogen is also a key component in munitions. Things go boom, right? Okay? The Murrah building, Oklahoma City, that was ammonium nitrate and fuel oil, ANFO. That's poor man's dynamite. Now, after that, what he did, he became head of the German armaments chemical warfare group in the early 1900s, World War I. He is the father of mustard gas. So, that's where science got a little perverted. Okay? All right.
Bill, one hoe you didn't mention was the one that has sort of a square, a rectangle.
This is a stirrup hoe.
Yeah, how do you use that?
Is that the same thing as a snuffle hoe? Yeah. Use the interchange. What it will do, you got a sharp edge here, a sharp edge there, and it cuts the roots. That's the purpose one. They're bigger ones. I think I was that.
Yeah, you did, but I like that too.
And this is made in Switzerland. I have only seen this one time. I haven't seen it anywhere else. And that company, that store's out there.
Well, if anybody has any additional questions, you can ask Mr. Bill after class ends. I do want to apologize, I skipped over his biography beforehand, so I apologize for that, Mr. Bill. But I think he's taught another class and probably had his biography read, but I wanted to note that, that I thought was interesting that he's been teaching the EMD program at the Mecklenburg County Jail for 8 years. I thought that was pretty awesome. But we want to give a heartfelt thank you.
Bill knows everything. I worked with him at Lowe's, for one of the 4-hour sessions, and I learned more about soils and compost and stuff like that. Bill had it all out there, and that's what I said, I'll fill the up, so he knows everything.
Don't forget chapter 18 and 21 next week. Don't forget your name tag at any events that you're volunteering at and for class next week. And I believe Ms. Betsy has some more announcements.
Yeah, I do, Sandy can tell. 2 things. The exam is going out this afternoon, and there's a PDF attachment so that if you want to print it out and do it yourself before you go online, it's due Monday. Okay?
Wait, is it Memorial Day?
No, yeah, due Monday, yes. It's the same type, you know, it shouldn't take you that long. I mean, it's right out of the book. Clear, and Kathy once again did an excellent job in putting this together, and it should not take you that long to do it. There's nothing tricky about it. Just look at your book.
Oh, awesome.
Second one, Mr. Bell is going to be doing a demonstration at 1 o'clock outside of.
That's other changes, just it changed on the schedule. That will be a archived video that Gray has volunteered to be the cameraman for that, where I will show how